Thanks for taking time to listen to this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Take a minute to go to therealresq.com to check out these and other great deals from our sponsors here at the Real ResQ. This episode of the Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. And RescueSwimmerShop.com, official high-quality apparel featuring the silhouette. Breeze Eastern. They dedicate themselves to our helicopter rescue world. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November of 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and the unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, the operators, and those being rescued has not. Contact them today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. SR3 Rescue Concepts is a training company that can help your helicopter training. They train daytime, nighttime, aerial firefighting, hoist, longline, fast rope, rappel, and more. They can assist your program with standardization and safety checks or just an FAA annual refresher. With the certified flight instructor pilots and experienced crew, they are ready to help your agency keep up to date with current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. Plus, right now, SR3 is offering 10% off anything in their web store with the promo code, all capital letters, Real ResQ, REALRESQ. Plus, they are offering 10% from their partners Petzl and their equipment. All you got to do is send an email to info@sr3rescueconcepts.com. Mention this podcast, the Real ResQ podcast, and they'll take care of the rest. 15 years ago, photographer and Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 526, Chris Razak, created an iconic photograph. This photograph depicted the silhouette of a helicopter rescue swimmer reaching down for an outstretched hand in need against the American flag backdrop. The image went viral and became a symbol worldwide for the rescue community and the people they help. Its wild popularity inspired Chris to launch RescueSwimmerShop.com, a web store offering official high-quality apparel featuring his evocative image, the silhouette. T-shirts, hats, patches, and stickers featuring the silhouette are available at RescueSwimmerShop.com, including the flagship design, So Others May Live. Follow Chris and his story on Instagram with the handle @RescueSwimmerShop. And if you are a rescue swimmer, support rescue swimmers, or just tell people you are one at the bar, this gear is definitely for you. When you get to the website, RescueSwimmerShop.com, enter the promo code, all lowercase, one word, RESCUE, RESCUE, for 10% off your order. On November 11th, in the United States, we celebrate Veterans Day. Veterans Day is a day that we pay tribute to all American veterans. It's a day to give thanks for those who served their country honorably during wartime and peacetime. On this special episode of The Real ResQ, I'd like to give thanks to a friend of mine who is no longer with us. He had an incredible career and some incredible rescues, some that I get to share with you here today, along with a couple guests who get to share their side of the story for United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 649, Mr. Dustin Bernitovich. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Dustin Bernitovich, also known as Bernie, graduated swimmer school in September 2005 as rescue swimmer number 649. He did tours in Miami, Florida, New Orleans, Louisiana, and Atlantic City, New Jersey, When he got out of the Coast Guard, he came to work with me at Priority 1 Air Rescue. That's the first time I had a chance to meet him. The dude was a beast. We would get in the pool together and he would literally leave a wake behind him. It was awesome to watch. We had a couple cases together which were pretty fun, most of them routine. One of them I remember specifically was with Labo. Labo was our paramedic, Bernie was the rescue swimmer, and I was the hoist operator. I lowered Bernie down to the deck, then Labo, and all the gear. They worked on the patient for at least 30 minutes while we were doing circles in the air. It was not the outcome that we had hoped for. But that day, I saw Bernie do his job, and he did it well. Outside all the medevac calls, the hoist training, all the flying that we did, the guy was always working out. He was always on a bike, or running, or swimming to train for his next triathlon. He did all sorts of little triathlons here and there. But the biggest ones to note, he completed 4 full-distance Ironmans and was training for his 5th. That's 140.6 miles, 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and a 26.2 marathon after all that. And one in particular day, he came to me and said, "Hey, you want to go for a run?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go for a run." Next thing I know, him and I are running down the Seawall Boulevard in Galveston, Texas. I was trying to catch my breath with every step, and he's having a full-on conversation with me. I think we were running about a 6-minute mile, which is pretty quick for those that don't run. And for those that do run, yeah, I was sucking wind. It was a great time, and Bernie was an amazing guy to work with. When he left Priority 1 Air Rescue, he went to League City Police Department, where he made his way through the ranks and into SWAT team. Every time I would go see Bernie, he would tell me stories about what was going on with the police department and different cases that he was running. Him and I would always have a good laugh together, especially when he got talking about running down the bad guys and tackling them because he was faster than they were. It was hilarious. So on this Veterans Day, as we remember Bernie, we get to hear from 2 people who knew him most. His dad, Michael Bernitovich, and his best friend, his bride that never was, Miss Donna Adams. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the father of the man of Dustin Bernitovich, Mr. Michael Bernitovich. Mr. Mike, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me to give a little background about Dustin and, maybe some of the stories that, only you guys know. And then, we're going to recap that amazing case that he had out of Florida, coming out of Miami. And you were a little bit part of this because from what I understand, you were actually sitting in the airport getting ready to go see him. And it was like, sir, your son's not going to pick you up at the airport. So I'm pretty excited to hear about this.
Okay.
So for everyone out there, if you don't mind, a little bit who you are, and then give us a little rundown about Dustin as he was a kid and kind of bring us right into how and why he joined the Coast Guard to be a swimmer. I know that's a lot. I know that's a lot, but you know what? As best as we can. Summarize.
Yeah, because a lot of the memories are more current than going back to his childhood. But in just thinking back, there was nothing about his growing up as a kid that would be any indication of what he ended up doing regarding rescue swimmer, Coast Guard, police. He was always involved in sports. He was a big kid, so it was more football, wrestling as opposed to anything else. And his parents, we did whatever we can to support him and his son Mike, his brother. Yep. Mike, through getting up, and then through school. He was more of a pass-fail kind of kid as opposed to someone who wants to be an A student, because he enjoyed life as he was getting older. So school was not a priority, but it was important. He grew up in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, all his life.
Nice.
went to Greater Nanticoke area, graduated, and because of his talent in football, he ended up moving on and playing Division III football with Wilkes University, which was near our town.
Oh, nice.
And for 4 years.
What position did he play?
He was defensive lineman.
Of course he was. He was about the size of a defensive lineman.
Yeah, in fact, in 1 second, I could actually show you. There's a picture right in the room here. I can show you a picture of what he looked like when he was in that with Wilkes. And again, because he was more of a pass-fail kid, he was into criminal justice. In fact, at that point, that was his curriculum when he was at Wilkes. But near the end of his, I think after his 4th year playing football at Wilkes, we never had one discussion about his interest in joining the Coast Guard. There was probably, as I recall, a time when he said, "Hey, I joined the Coast Guard, and you got to take me down to Harrisburg." And we were a little shell-shocked, to be honest, because we thought he would end up graduating from Wilkes and moving into some career that would be in the criminal justice system. And here is the Coast Guard. Like, yeah, wow. But
I could see him doing that too. Like, hey, by the way, I just joined the Coast Guard. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. So that was the first time that he left home. We had to drop him off at the recruiting station, and off he went. So that was hard for his mom and I, first time away. So, but he's in the Coast Guard. So he did well there. He went through whatever you have to do to do that. And he would go out on a boat for like months, and do drug raids, and catch bad people, and
nice.
I know at one point, I forget what country he ended up going to, but I'm a big coffee fanatic, so he brought me back coffee from wherever land he was at, and so we stayed in touch, and as he was doing his stint in the Coast Guard, he was in Elizabeth City, I believe.
Yes, that's where we went to school.
North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and somehow he got he was in a position where he was in the pool. With his size, he never swam. He was not a swimmer ever.
You could have fooled me, and I will tell you, because there was a wake usually behind him as he's like just driving through the pool, which is pretty impressive.
So as I remember how he shared with us, the instructor or whoever was running the rescue swimmer school challenged him and said, "You can't do this." And of course, that's all he needed. And he said, "Yes, I can." And there was no intent or plan. It's just to be a rescue swimmer. And Dustin was a guy, when he was growing up, it was motorcycles, snowboarding, was always adventurous in that way, and not your typical kind of activities. And he was not a runner, he was not a swimmer, and it's really interesting to see how he evolved into kind of the fitness person he was to be able to do Ironman. And in fact, it was only because of him that I got into cycling.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. So I never did that kind of stuff. And then, I learned real quick that there's a difference between a road bike and a bike you take on the road.
Yeah,
I learned real quick. So to his credit, he influenced me in fitness. Didn't run because I'm a big guy myself, and I don't care to run too much. So cycling was my thing. So that was so good. Cool.
Did he always leave you behind when he would, like, if you guys ever trained together, would he just kind of leave you behind? And
no. When he would come up to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania isn't flat. So I got to ride when I was doing cycling. It was hills and mountains and up and down. So he was not used to that. He liked to let's go on a straightaway and go 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So no, we were depending on what terrain we were navigating.
Nice.
And the real nice thing with Dustin, he was like anywhere from, Elizabeth City. He was in Miami. He was in Atlantic City, New Orleans. The family really got to enjoy the different parts of the country because that's where he was. So that's where we would visit. And to this day, I blame him for introducing me to craft beers.
Yeah, it is. He loves it. And his double IPAs, triple IPAs. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think early on, if I tried an IPA, I probably thought the beer was spoiled or something. Something's wrong with it. Because Miller Lite, Coors Light, kind of that light water kind of beer. And he tied me into craft beers, and we really became high-end beer drinkers.
That's
left that
awesome.
light stuff behind. Yeah. So I remember some of the hot. So we spent a lot of time. We would probably one of the favorite things we would do is when he was in Atlantic City. I would go over and spend time with him. So we would cycle from Atlantic City down to the Cape May Ferry.
Oh, wow.
And take our bikes over on the ferry. And then I think it was at Lewes Point or something. I think that's the name of the event, Lewes Point. And then we would cycle to Dogfish. Dogfish was if you're familiar with craft beers, you should know Dogfish.
Okay.
60-minute, 90-minute, 120, and all the different things. And he ended up getting to know one of the managers of Dogfish. So he would bring beer from Texas over to Dogfish, which is in Maryland, that they can't get. And they would take him down into their aging cellars and allow him to pick beers that the general public has no access to.
What?
So he had those kind of connections that he was able to do. And so through that, I got to be part of that. And we had some absolutely great times.
Oh, man, what great. I love that. Good for you guys.
Yeah, they were good.
I'll tell you, you know what? You brought up Miami. So let's get right into that Miami case because it's an amazing case. And I'm really looking forward to hearing like your side and your perspective of the whole thing. So it's, like I said, this is pretty cool. And as soon as I'm done reading it, we can dive right in. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, it was, I would visit Dustin often, wherever he was stationed throughout his career. So there was one time that it's when he was in Miami, and I was flying out of our local airport, which was Voca in Wilkes-Barre. And I don't know whether I got to the airport a little early, or the flight was being delayed, but it again resulted in me sitting at the bar in the airport, waiting for my flight. So I'm sitting, at the bar, and as is typical in a bar at an airport, there's many people. The bars are usually full, and the TVs are playing, and I'm, of course, drinking probably an IPA.
Thank you, Dustin.
And the news came on, and I'm watching the screen, and I realized that there's something going on, which is a rescue, and Dustin is on national TV doing this rescue. And I'm sitting at the bar thinking, he has to pick me up. I'm going to fly out of here, and I'm going to be at the airport, and he's supposed to pick me up. So there's the people next to me at the bar. I'm saying, you see what's going on that screen? I said, that's the guy who's supposed to pick me up. That's my son. And he was doing rescue. I think it was a Haitian boat or something. And it capsized.
We're going to get into that in 1 second, because I'm about to read the award after I hear this. This is great.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm like, this is great. Like, it didn't change my plans, but I realized my itinerary might be quite different once I get to Miami, because I don't know how involved he's going to be in this. And, a flight from Pennsylvania to Florida is maybe 2 hours or something. And,
yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah. So, but I thought that was pretty cool that he's on TV doing a rescue while I'm sitting at the bar, planning him picking me up. So, yeah.
That's hilarious. I'll tell you what, let me read this. And then I'm really curious as to when you get down to Florida and you end up talking to him, like some of the details that might come out of it in your conversation. Because I know as soon as you get there, you'll be like, so what have you been up to, man? So let me read this, and we'll get right into it. So the award. Citation to accompany the award of the Coast Guard Achievement Medal to Dustin M. Bernitovich, Aviation Survival Technician, 3rd Class, United States Coast Guard. Petty Officer Bernatovich is cited for superior performance of duty while serving as rescue swimmer aboard Coast Guard Rescue Helicopter 6577 on 13 May 2009 during a massive search and rescue operation for 30 people left adrift in the water following a capsize of their migrant vessel 15 nautical miles off the coast of Boynton Beach, Florida. Surveying an already chaotic scene, Petty Officer Bernatovich located a survivor visible in the last stages of her efforts to stay afloat. Alerting the pilots to the woman's situation, Petty Officer Bernatovich immediately prepared for deployment while conning the 6577 to the struggling woman's position. Executing a flawless free fall deployment, he reached the woman just as she succumbed to exhaustion and sank below the surface. Knowing that every second of searching was time critical, Petty Officer Bernatovich pulled his survivor to a nearby small boat, which freed the helicopter to continue to search for other survivors. Minutes later, he took station aboard the Coast Guard cutter Cormorant and began leading triage and recovery of the victim. Discovering one of the survivors required hospital-level medical care, Petty Officer Bernatovich rapidly orchestrated a hoist with the nearby helicopter and directed cutter personnel to clear the deceased victims and rescue gear from the confined bow area. As the cutter's crew tended the hoist basket, he continued assessing victims and discovered another person in critical condition. Realizing the Coast Guard helicopter was now low on fuel, he signaled a rescue sling hoist to expedite his return aboard the helicopter with the survivor. Working to the point of exhaustion, Petty Officer Bernatovich continued providing medical attention to the survivor until they reached the hospital staff. Petty Officer Bernatovich, diligence, perseverance, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Oh, Mike, this is awesome. 30 people in the water. Like, free fall in, saving some lady going underwater. Like I can see it. That's just incredible. And then he's on board the ship and taking command because like he working. I can see it. I can see him do it. Like working with him for so long. I got so you get down to Florida. How does the conversation go?
Well, you're always, it's a matter of like, so tell me, like, he wasn't one to want to talk about work outside of work.
I've heard that many times.
But because of the situation, I said, oh my God, I said, like, what do you do? Like, and the one thing that seems to pop in my head is there's some in the training that he received, there's a way that you manage between people who might have died and people who needed to be rescued, and how you manage all that. So I do remember him sharing with me that process of how they are able to most effectively manage multiple crises that are happening all around you in the water. So yeah, when you read that, you really I don't think you really appreciated what his talent was.
Yeah.
And what he can do, because even when we were talking to people that he worked with, like in the police, in the SWAT team and the police, you really didn't know how he would extend himself to help others. People who I think work like in an office setting where the police department was, but wanted to become a police officer, he would take that person under his wings and try to help them in whatever way he can, helping people to be Ironman and to do marathons and half. I mean, you start to learn the legal between there's different kind of triathlons. There's full, half, and all this kind of stuff. But even the neighbors around the where he lived, he helped one of the his friends who had a young boy, helped him learn how to get engaged in doing triathlons and bought him a triathlon suit. So yeah, we had good times together, but you never realized how like kind and how he would put others ahead of himself in helping them do whatever he could to help them reach their goals.
Yeah.
I even remember, I'll go all over the place. I'm doing talking, so
that's okay.
You can tell me to stop. I remember when he actually went to the police force, he was in training. Dustin wore pink. He wore flashy watch bands. His shoes were fluorescent, and his socks were probably complementary to fluorescent shoes. And they'd say, "Look at this guy. Who does he think he is?" Because he's bigger than most policemen were, and they were going to run around the track. And it didn't take long before they realized he can wear whatever he wants. It's not indicative. Sometimes when you think of people who are flashy like that, they're really not going to perform as Dustin could. So he, in fact, to this day, all wear pink. And
oh heck yes,
he had lime-colored watches, white watches. He had these crazy watch collections, and so we do wear. I don't have one on now, but yeah, I wear them often.
I love it.
So I'm not sure how it got to that point, but I'll let you kind of.
I'll tell you what, let's bring it back to the case just a little bit. And then I'll tell you another side story about that. The pink guy that he used to wear that I loved to be around with too. But that case in particular, that whole crew and everybody did an amazing job. We had, 30 people that are on a capsized boat in the water, and him, going over to pull somebody out from underwater and saving her life, is incredible. And then the triage that you talk about, this is something that we do train on all the time, and it's not just a train on it once and you're done. You repeatedly train on, big casualties, big accidents, and triage. And, for him to assess, all the patients and then say, okay, this person's got to get hoisted out. This person's got to get hoisted out. By the way, we're running low on fuel and time. So I'm going to make a double up extraction, with a quick strap to get into the aircraft and then triage and continue to care for the patients all the way back to land in the hospital. Is just goes to show how selfless he is, and just a job. He got called to do a job and he did an amazing job at it. So, hats off to him for that. So, and the whole crew. But I definitely appreciate your side of the story. I think I love the fact that you're sitting there drinking an IPA, watching him on TV, be like, that's my ride. He's going to be late.
Yeah.
So,
that's a true story.
Yeah, I like it. And I will tell you, like the first time I had gone just working out with him, he comes down, he's got his big high speed road bike, triathlete road bike, and he comes in with this bright pink helmet. And as a swimmer, what do? I pick on him and I make fun of him. Now I will say Dustin could probably break me in half, and I'm a little taller, but he's a lot wider. And he said, man, the only reason I wear this is because you notice it. So now when I'm on the road, everybody that's driving by me, they're like, hey, look at the guy in the pink hat. Now they see me, or the pink helmet. I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, well, Mr. Mike, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I can't thank you enough for coming on and just sharing this case and the stories of Dustin. He definitely lives in all of our hearts and memories as well. And he'll be remembered in the brotherhood forever. I promise you that. So.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And until next time, I'll give you a call a little later. Okay.
All righty.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
See you later. So next I'd like to bring on a friend, a best friend, a girlfriend, a better half, a wife that never was, Miss Donna Adams. How are you, Miss Donna?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I am awesome. Hey, listen, thank you so much for coming on and kind of giving us a little perspective of Bernie from your world, which is always fun when you have like somebody that lives with Bernie, because I did from time to time, but you really did.
For about almost 9 years.
That's a chunk of time right there. That's awesome.
Nice.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you don't mind, just kind of introduce yourself a little bit, and then how you and Bernie met would be a great start for everybody out there.
Yeah. So I'm Donna Adams, and I was with Dustin from basically almost the time we got together in New Orleans, which he had just transferred in a couple months earlier, and I had started a job down there that July. But we met in September, and I don't know, it was kind of written. It was all done from there.
That was easy.
It was easy. I think it probably helped that we're both two people in a different town and had like not a ton of people around us. So we just kind of gravitated towards each other. And of course, it was college football season. So both being from Big Ten schools. We had our annual day of hate, and it was great for me. It was never great for him. Maybe like once or twice, him being a diehard Penn Stater. And then here's me, your Ohio State Buckeye.
It's the Ohio State.
the Ohio State University. Yeah, he was like, I think it lost its luster after like the first 3 losses in a row. But I still had fun talking shit for like a week. And anything that was said, we wouldn't hold it against each other. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm like, you guys are gonna lose. This isn't fun anymore. Like,
oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So where did you meet Bernie? So Bernie. Let's go with Bernie. Because everybody knows him as Bernie. So.
Yeah. So we met. We had our first date at a balcony bar, actually. And it was smooth. It was easy. Like we were best friends almost from the get-go. And then out of nowhere, I said, "Oh, I know you do like what they did on the movie The Guardian, right?" He was like, "Yeah, I did. Actually, let me show you. But I helped train them for that movie." And I was like, "Okay, so your parents, they live up in Pennsylvania? How is that for you?" Like totally flipped the script on him. I never saw the picture until way, way, way later. And I know he was there going, "Who is this person? Like, she is not buying my usual sales pitch here."
I want to show you that I know famous people. Like I was part of the movie.
And I'm like, I don't care.
You're exactly like the girl in the movie. Like, yeah, no.
Yes.
How much you got on this bet right now? Because I'm about to take 50%. Oh,
yeah, I'm like, oh, whatever. But we hit it off, and then Saturday, he actually left town to go to the Penn State football game, which they lost to Iowa that weekend. Yes, I remember all of this. They had 2 losses that year, and he was at both games.
So it was his fault. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what
Penn
I told
State,
him.
I'm sorry. Oh, that's funny.
Yep. So, and then he went to Ohio State that year too, and they definitely lost.
Oh my gosh.
So,
that's funny.
Yeah.
But 9 years. You were together for 9 years. Holy smoke.
Yeah.
It's a good chunk of time.
Yeah, it is.
So in that 9 years, here's what's something kind of cool. And this is one of the reasons that I've asked you to join us, here. And that is that Dustin actually had a pretty big case out of New Orleans and got a pretty decent award for it, which I'm going to read here in a second. But we get to hear your perspective of it. The person that's at home, the wives, the girlfriends, the pets, whatever you want to call it, you get this glimpse of what we're about to do, not really knowing what's going to happen. And then you get the aftermath. So I'm going to read the award, and then I want your perspective as far as how it went through for you. Is that cool?
That's cool.
Yep. All right. So here you go. So Dustin Bernitovich, he earned this award for an incredible case down there. Most people know it as the Deepwater Horizon. Citation to accompany the award of the Meritorious Service Medal to Dustin M. Bernatovich, Aviation Survival Technician, 3rd Class, United States Coast Guard. Petty Officer Bernatovich is cited for meritorious service in the performance of duty on the evening of 20 April 2010 while serving as rescue swimmer aboard Coast Guard Rescue Helicopter 6576, 110 miles southeast of New Orleans, Louisiana. Following a failure of the Deepwater Horizon mobile offshore drilling unit's drilling system 5,000 feet below the surface, the rush of oil and flammable gas surfaced and ignited the platform, ultimately crippling the structure, killing 11 and forcing workers on board to abandon the oil rig. Rescue helicopter launched from Air Station New Orleans minutes after notification. Arriving on scene, the Coast Guard rescue crew immediately began searching for survivors, just hundreds of feet from the towering 600-foot flames erupting from the oil rig. Disregarding the dangers of follow-on explosions along with the flaming oil, gas, and intense heat during the search, the Coast Guard rescue crew determined that 115 survivors had been recovered on an offshore supply vessel, Damon B. Bankston, all of which required triage to determine the next level of medical care. Dustin Bernitovich was hoisted onto the vessel, braving the intense heat and burning oil and debris washing over the deck from the burning oil rig, and determined which of those 115 people required medical evacuation. Teaming with another rescue swimmer and expertly applying his life-saving skills, Petty Officer Bernatovich identified and prepared for hoisting 2 of the most critically injured survivors who suffered from severe second and third degree burns and compound fractures. The triage provided by Petty Officer Bernatovich was essential in determining the critically and next level of medical care to ensure the survival of all those rescued. Petty Officer Bernatovic's dedication and devotion to duty are most heartily commending, in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Holy cow. Donna, so there's a lot of stuff. I mean, they made a movie about this. Everybody knows the story of the Deepwater Horizon, and Bernie was one of the first guys on scene.
Yeah, he was on standby that night.
So define that. What standby is? Actually, let me define that, because I know what it is too.
Yeah, you're the pro.
I'm the pro. Doggone it. So standby is, and New Orleans had this, Labo talks about it quite a bit, is you would have one guy as the ready swimmer, and then one guy is the backup swimmer who is usually at home, but he had a cell phone, a beeper, some way for somebody to get in touch with him. And all that was required is if the phone rings, answer it, and you're going in, because you know the guy that's on duty is going to be flying. So him being at home,
and you had to be within,
yep.
And you had to be within a certain radius.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. You can't be flying up to Boston.
No.
All right. So he's got the secondary. He's on standby. And this call comes in. The first helicopter's launch, and immediately, where are you guys?
Well, he was actually they kept him late that night, and he was on his way back. I had made dinner, which was unusual in itself too, because he was the cook. I was not. And so he called and said he was on his way home, and I go, okay. I said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and get your food in the microwave so it's ready when you get home. Because I know it was after, I don't know, it was later. And he hung up and said, I'll be there in a few minutes. Then he calls back and he says, oil rig explosion, got to go by. And it was just that quick. And I was like, I don't even think he heard me. He hung up so fast. Yeah. And so
did it register to you when he said oil rig explosion?
Clearly not, because I slept pretty good that night. I was like he got back there, and then he said that he was going to be going out, and I said, okay, I'll just stay here with your dogs then for the night. No big deal. I checked my phone at 2 a.m. or around 2 a.m. Didn't hear anything from him. No text, no anything. And I was like, he still must be out. Must not have bagged out yet. And then I woke up whenever he came through the door the next morning. It must have been like 5:30 in the morning. He came home. Maybe it was a little bit later. But the news, I had the TV on all night, and I was sleeping on the couch. And I started seeing things pop up about the explosion. And I was like, oh, this was kind of, and it still wasn't registering with me that it was like what it was.
Oh God.
And he came in and he fell asleep pretty quick, and he said there was a lot. And then he said he brought a couple guys back with him that had been injured, and got them the help, got them to where they needed to go. And so I went to work like normal people do, and he was still sleeping. And I get a call saying, will you bring me over a couple of Red Bulls? And I was like, I guess. I mean, I have to run out for a couple errands for work anyways. I guess I can do that. And the funny part about it was, though, he had a gas station not that far from his house. Like he could have easily gone to get his own Red Bulls that morning.
That lazy pile of Dustin.
I know.
Sleeping on the couch as soon as he gets home. Oh gosh. She just saved a bunch of people on an oil rig.
Yeah, not like he was working hard the night before or anything.
Gosh.
So I pull in, text him to say I'm outside. He comes out to get his Red Bulls and he goes, thanks. And then we started talking about it a little bit. And he was telling me about how some of the chemicals out there was destroyed his equipment. Like he was going to have all new equipment because it just literally was eating through his equipment. And then he was telling me about, you know, what it looked like and everything. And I was like, this was kind of a big deal, huh? And he was like, Donna.
Girl, I freaking love you.
He goes, what part of oil rig explosion didn't you understand? And I go, evidently, like all of it. And he was like, oh, like you could just see, like that was like the first time where he was just like, what in the heck have I gotten myself into? So anyways, I was like, huh. I said, well, do you want somebody home worried about you the whole time while you're out doing your job? And he was like, no. He goes, you didn't worry about me at all last night? And I went, no, I didn't. I said, I woke up at 2, checked my phone and hadn't heard anything. But I mean, well, I fell back asleep right away because I figured you were good. I said, but you got to understand. I said, I trust in your training and that you're going to do what you have to do to get home safe. I said, I cannot be up all night worrying about you out doing your job because there would be no sleep then. And I'm not all about that life. I like sleep. I still like sleep.
Oh,
so, great. I mean, you know, it was one of those things. And then the press started right after that. Like that day he was on the news. I think it was that day or it was the day after. And we were supposed to go to Houston that weekend because his brother was having a surgery. So we were driving over from New Orleans to Houston that weekend. And there was still a chance that he was going to have to get pulled into a new station here in Houston to do a broadcast.
Wow.
For it. And he hated it. He hated, like, that's the one thing about Dustin, that even though he tried to pull out that one card on our first date, he was actually a very humble person. And like, you would never know he did half the stuff that he did in his career.
Yeah, I didn't know about Deepwater Horizon until him and I had been working together for quite a while. So that was like, I was like, you were on that? What? So
yeah, it was something that I think he kind of viewed it as his job, and he literally led by that motto, so others may live. Because that was a conversation that we would have all the time, you know, about if something happened. Not all the time, like maybe once a year we'd hit that topic. But you know, I mean, that's a very real conversation for anybody who is a partner or girlfriend or whatever with somebody who does emergency response on any level.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know, or in the military for that matter, you just don't know what's going to happen.
So out of curiosity, as he's telling you a little bit about the case and kind of what happened, because I know there's, if he was like me, there's always like follow-up conversations where you're like recapping different events throughout. So you end up having like 4 or 5 conversations with whoever you're talking to. And there's a little different piece of information that comes out every time. You're like, wait a minute, you didn't say that last time. What was some of the things that stand out to you that he had mentioned like during that case?
You know, I think one of the big, because I said to him, I go, well, are you ever going to see these people again that you helped? He goes, probably not. He goes, but we got them the help that they needed and they're good from everything that I've heard. They're recovering. And, you know, I think that was kind of cool afterwards. they did the Guardian of the Heartland in New Orleans, and they were all together.
Let's actually touch on that real quick because you brought that up. The Guardian of the Heartland actually was it's an award for the Heartland area down in Louisiana, Texas, and all that stuff. And their whole crew and everybody that was involved in the Deepwater Horizon earned that recognition and award from the Guardian of the Heartland Award Committee. Amazing, because of that whole case. So I know. Keep going with that. That's awesome.
And the cool thing about that event was that they invited people who were actually rescued too.
Oh, very cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Sure.
So, I don't think there were a lot of them. I hope I'm telling this right.
No, hey, you know what? Whatever you've got, we'll take it. The rest of everybody out there, go do your own research, all right?
Right. That's what everybody does anyways.
Yeah. Fact check.
But yeah, so like that was a cool evening. Just because it brought so many people together. And his dad was able to be in town with it. And it's the only time I saw him in his dress blues. Which he hated. Hated.
Well, how did you like it though? That's the bigger question.
Oh, what girl doesn't like a guy?
Yeah, come on, girl. What's up? Every girl loves the sharp dressed man. That's not how the lyrics go. That was terrible. But come on, ZZ Top, let's go.
Yeah, let's leave it to them to sing.
Yeah, thank you. Don't quit your day job. Roger that, Donna. Oh my God.
Yeah, but that was the other thing about him. Like once he kind of processed it, he didn't talk about stuff much after it happened. So like for him to even open up to me the morning after was kind of a big deal. Because that just wasn't him. Like he compartmentalized a lot, I think. And he separated work and life very well. Actually, he helped me in learning how to do that, because when we first met, I would be like sending emails until midnight and he'd be like, this is not gonna work.
Yeah.
Like, you need boundaries and this and that. And that was helpful for me. Because I still have those boundaries to this day, where like I put it if we're not working on something huge, I'm done. You've got me for my 8-9 hours a day, and I have to have some sort of balance. So, and I don't keep work email on my phone anymore. I strongly encourage that for anybody.
Look at you. All right.
Anyways,
I can't say I do that. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, honey. That's to my wife too. Sorry, honey. She's like, you're overdoing yourself. Yes, I know.
See? Yeah, that was kind of the talk I had. And I was like, okay. But it was good. It was good. But that's also helped me in my career be able to separate work from what happens at home. And it makes home more enjoyable. Let's face it, whenever you're not dragging that stuff home all the time. But
well, the interesting part about, again, Deepwater Horizon is not only was it a huge, massive case, it was nationally televised. It was a big deal. You like you said, the local news had picked up on it, and then it started to go, across the nation. But GQ,
and then we had the GQ article.
GQ magazine comes out and actually mentions Dustin Bernitovich, and I'm going to bring it up right now because it's freaking hilarious, and I love every bit of it. So for those of the explain body type, because you lived with them, so you could probably explain it better. Explain the size of Dustin Bernitovich for us.
He looked like a big linebacker. Like he was, 6 foot, and just he was big and built. Like people were always shocked that he did triathlons because of how big he was. And he did a few Ironmans and did them well.
Yeah.
But people were always like, really, with his size? Like, yeah, he's out there doing it. Like, he was just stacked. Well,
Yeah.
or as GQ says, a
Yeah.
block of a man.
Uh,
Which I got a lot of good quality material out of that to make fun of him for a long while.
oh my goodness, it's great. Well, the GQ magazine, the article is from June 13th, 2010. The story is called, or the title of the article says, Boom, the story of the Deepwater Horizon. And down into the, or later into the article, it says, then the second Dolphin, talking about the helicopter that came in. So then the second Dolphin from Belle Chase arrives with a litter. Its rescue swimmer, a block of a man named Dustin Bernitovich, is lowered down, and he and Peterson, the other rescue swimmer that was on the other helicopter, wrestled the stretcher with the worst off trauma patient in the litter. Well done, Dustin. GQ magazine, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
and he hated, because for a long time people were like, oh, GQ, and oh, you're a block of a man, and he would be like, oh. Like, he hated he just didn't like attention being drawn to himself. And he actually shut down like all the social media for a long while after Deepwater Horizon.
Oh, wow.
Because there was just, there was a lot of attention like coming to him. And not necessarily wanted attention.
Yeah. It's
positives and negatives with having your name thrown out there is people send you sometimes good stuff and sometimes not so good stuff. And so he shut it down. It was for a long while. He shut it down. And then whenever he brought it back, he was under an alias.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Because I was like,
yeah.
Where are you? And he's like, oh, yeah, this is my name. And
but a lot of people didn't realize why he shut it down. Because he had told me, because I said, why are you getting off Facebook? He was like, oh, well. And he didn't go into specifics with me or anything like that. He told me just enough where I was like, all right, cool. Done.
I was over the block of a man.
Right? I think GQ probably put him in a different set of limelight there.
Good job, GQ.
Yeah. So, but he shut it down for a good long while. But wow, yeah, it was crazy. That whole time was crazy for him and for us, just because it seemed like every time we turned around, somebody was asking something, and you could just tell he was like, it was my job.
Kind of like,
can we move on?
Yeah, right.
And I think that's how a lot of the guys feel,
most of us, for sure. Yeah.
But I also get the other side of things where people want to know more or want to be able to say, oh, I know that person.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot.
Yeah. This is what it is. We're out there to do a job. The alarm goes off.
Exactly.
We're going to respond. So, and he did it. He did a great job. What an amazing case that was, and incredible. So,
well, yep, sure was.
Well, Donna, I'll tell you, I'm going to open it to you. If you got anything else you want to tell us a little bit more about Dustin, you're more than welcome to. So
I don't know what you want to know, or what he'd want to, or what he would want me to tell.
Well, he wouldn't want you to. Yeah, he wouldn't want you to tell me anything. He'd be like, yeah, Donna, he's like probably sitting right hovering over you right now. I'd be like, Donna, do not say anything.
I feel it right now.
Come on, Dustin, we love you, brother.
Oh,
I'll tell you what, we will leave it at that. Donna, thank you so much for just kind of giving a little perspective from your side, especially about that in particular case, because it is an incredible case to talk about. And he was an incredible guy. So
he was, and we certainly miss him. I mean, God, I miss talking to him 5-10 times a day, and just it's not the same.
Actually, I'll throw one more thing in there for everybody out there. So Dustin, something that I loved about Dustin and you specifically is because when we were working with P1, I was coming from California, and Dustin loved his whiskey, and not I don't want to make that sound bad, but he loved. Whiskey.
No, he likes his good bourbon.
Oh, that's true.
There's a difference, Quinny.
I'm sorry. You are correct. And every time I pour a glass of Blanton's, I think of him. I'm just throwing that out. Blanton's on the rocks, man. Here's the Bernie. All right. But he loved his IPAs, loved them. Mm-hmm. And I would, every time I would come from California, I would have to bring I'm going to throw this out there, Russian River Brewing. They have a beer called Pliny the Elder. And every time he would go, or we would go to research, he would make it a point to go up there and grab some beer. Well, then he finds out that I'm close to there. He's like, dude, bring me beer. So every time I had to, duty or was working down in Galveston, I'd show up with like a 6-pack or a 12-pack of beer. And half the time I was dropping it off to you. Like, all right, I'll meet you.
Yeah, that's how we first met, was in a parking lot. I think like at Randall's or something. Yeah.
Here's your beer order.
I was like, oh, great. Because I think he was in Louisiana working out of there that time. But
that's right. We were supposed to be on Hitch together, and then he ended up getting moved over. Whatever it was. But yeah,
I was like, oh, this isn't unusual. It really wasn't unusual. We had another situation where somebody came from California. They were bringing bikes back, and they went in and got the max that they could get us of the Pliny the Elder. I think we had 12 or 18 or maybe 24 that showed up in a cooler. No bottles broken. Transport was perfect. Oh yeah. And I had to drive up into Houston for that. And that should just solidify my dedication to our IPA habit that we have. Had and we had a huge collection of beers that we have aged over the years. I still have a ton from Dogfish Head Brewery. We have a lot from there just because being stationed in Atlantic City when he was up there, about once a month we would go over to that brewery, to Dogfish Head Brewery, and have a fun day on our beach cruisers and just take the ferry over from Cape May and have a good time. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder how we got home, but
we were talking about
how we rode our bikes back to the ferry.
You two were triathletes. It was fine. Yeah. Safe the whole time.
That's how I looked at it. And I had a basket on the front of my bike, so it easily transported alcohol.
Oh gosh. Hilarious.
So we had a good time. We were a party.
Man, I loved hanging out with you guys. It was a blast for me. So all the stories and all the stuff that we did, it was so much fun. So
always a good time. Always. Yeah. So.
Well, Donna, thank you so much
for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I can't thank you enough for just giving a little glimpse of life with Dustin and going over this case with us. This is an incredible case for him, and my sympathy. I'm sorry for your loss, and he's missed by all of us. I promise.
Oh, I know. He's missed by everyone.
Yeah.
If you knew him, if you knew who he was, truly knew who he was, you absolutely. There's not a day that goes by that you don't miss him.
True statement.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So.
Well, thanks, Donna, and I will.
Thank you.
I will be in touch with you. I will keep in touch with you, and I look forward to our next conversation. All right.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, girl. I'll see you later. As we close out this episode, again, I want to say thank you to all the veterans out there. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for what you do. To Mike and Donna, a special thank you to you guys for coming on and sharing the stories of Bernie. I am humbled and honored to have you on as guests. It is an absolute pleasure to listen to these stories. To my friend, Dustin Bernitovich, you are missed, you are loved, and you will always be remembered in our brotherhood. Thank you for your service. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you on as a guest. Or if you have any questions about rescue or anything else we talk about here, send an email to jason@therealresq.com. That's Jason at TheRealResQ.com. You can also check us out on our web pages, therealresq.com, our Facebook page, and our Instagram page @TheRealResQ. Again, a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember, when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.